All right, this morning we're going to talk about drugs and alcohol in the workplace. And the reason we're going to do this is that this can very quickly lead to accidents and injuries. And over the long haul, if an individual is starting to have these kind of problems, then there's a number of areas of life where there's going to be a bad effect as a result of it. There are several ways in which substance abuse lowers your quality of life if you become involved in it. It harms your health. It harms your quality of life, has potential of harming your family life. It can become financially an issue depending on what you're using and how much it's costing you and all of that. And then also, I mean, there's the simple matter of self-esteem, how this affects your view of yourself. Now, if we take that and transfer that over into a discussion about the workplace, there's a number of things that can potentially happen as a result of a person abusing some particular substance, whatever it happens to be. Lack of attention. When your senses are numbed, you just don't pay as close attention to things as you do when you're sharp. Carelessness just doesn't really matter. I don't really care. Disruptive behavior, the inclination to be dissatisfied with what somebody else is doing or what is going on or that kind of thing. Your judgment, your ability to actually judge, for example, what's happening with a particular vehicle or with the way the steel's coming in. There's a number of issues with regard to judgment. Poor motor skills. It affects just how you act and how you react. And so these are all issues that we need to consider when we start talking about this. It also is going to affect your work. And here's what it means. It means that if you are under the influence of a controlled substance, then you're just going to be slower. You're not going to be as quick because you're not as sharp. Mistakes causes a lot more mistakes because once again, your judgment's affected, your ability to reason is affected. Instructions that your foreman gives you or your supervisor gives you are have to be repeated because you're just not catching up as quickly. And it means that everybody around you has got to pull more than there necessarily is their fair share because they are doing more while you, under the influence of a particular substance, whatever it happens to be, are in it actually just doing less. So what you want to do is you want to recognize some of the signs and symptoms of substance abuse. Substance abuse signs and symptoms vary from individual to individual as well as from substance to substance. The quantity and the quality of the substance of the abuse affects the sign and symptoms, as does the time that has passed since taking the substance. If you've taken something last night, the effect of it may still be going on this morning. Sometimes there's other reasons a person may be exhibiting signs and symptoms of substance abuse. So while it can be difficult to know for certain whether or not a particular individual is under the influence of a controlled substance, it is possible in a general way to say that there are certain signs and symptoms that may indicate substance abuse. And when I was in the position of being a foreman, I would try to make sure that every morning I would face to face with all my people individually and have a good look at them. And we would talk every morning. And sometimes you'll see the evidence of substance abuse in the eyes, bloodshot, constricted, dilated, pupils, different sizes. Speech, if a person's speech is slurred or incoherent or rapid or loud or soft, sometimes it's obvious that their heart rate's up. They're a little more or less able to function based on that kind of thing. Other signs, if they're not walking really straight, if they're jittery, if they're sleepy, if they're nervous, if they're paranoid, these are all can be all indicators of this kind of effect of some kind of abuse. Some drugs are controlled substances and some are not. Of those that are controlled substances, some are used or obtained legally, and some are used or obtained illegally. If an employer, for example, falls under a mandatory drug testing program, they must test for the following 5 drugs: amphetamines, cocaine, marijuana, opiates, PCP, stuff like that. Voluntary programs may test for as many drugs as they like. Typically, those programs test for the minimum of 5. The 4 times that an employer typically tends to test for substance abuse is pre-employment. Now, we have a pre-employment reasonable suspicion or for cause testing. If you appear to be impaired, then yes, there's a very good likelihood that we're going to have you tested. Random, which we don't do random testing as such with our company, not in that way. It's typically for cause. Post-accident, we are going to do that every time. If you're involved in an accident in any way, then we are going to post-accident test. So just remember these things. Our company does have a drug and alcohol policy. It's in our safety policy and procedure manual. It's easily obtainable if you want to read it for yourself. There is also a training video for the foreman with regard to this as well. So just bear this in mind, because it's important. We want you to be safe. We want your people, the people around you, to be safe. And this is an issue that needs to be addressed. And so bear this in mind with regard to any substance that's used under any circumstance, anything that you're using on the job and or off the job under all circumstances and conditions. Realize that you can affect your own safety and the safety of others by how you handle these things.